Hello, Airtable community. I'm Alex McDonnell, thrilled to join you for another Builder live stream. And I'm joined by Mikayla. Mikayla, say hi and introduce yourself to the Builder community. Many people might already know you from your courses, but just in case they don't.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mikayla Rosa. So excited to be here. I lead up AI programs at Airtable, so help builders, folks interested in building with AI and Airtable. So really excited. Based in New York, been with Airtable last 7 years or so spent lots of time building apps, and yeah, so excited to jump in and build today.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mikayla. Just checking in on the chat. Looks like some folks aren't hearing sound, but some are. Might be a setting on the viewer end. Let me just put up a little check on that. I think we're okay. I'm going to quickly share a few of the things that you and the team have been working on, Mikayla, that I think are fantastic resources for people looking to jumpstart their skill set with AI app building. Tell us a bit about the courses available on Airtable Academy here, like this one on AI-powered app building.
Yeah, so this is a self-directed sort of self-paced course. You can jump in, available to anyone, free. So you can learn all the basics of prompting, using AI in Airtable. That's what we're here to cover today. But this really gives you a deep dive. So you'll walk away, if you take these different courses, with a wide range of experiences, be able to actually apply that in your workflows, whether you're brand new to Airtable or leveling up your build.
Awesome. And then on the community side as well, I know you and the team are always connecting and engaging with builders here on the Airtable community. What can folks expect if they jump in over here?
Yeah, I mean, one of the best ways to learn new AI workflows is to tap the sort of wisdom of crowds. And that's why we're here running these types of sessions. The space is moving so fast. So we actually have an AI user group that's focused specifically on just AI topics. So you can join there. Definitely, if you're on this call and you're not in that user group, I think it'd be a great community to jump into. It's just selecting user groups there. I think it's that yellow icon. And then from there, you can hop in and sort of ask questions, dig in and see other use cases. Our team is monitoring there, but it's a great spot.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mikayla. So here's what we have in store for you all today, folks. We are going to walk through a few live build examples of AI apps that you can build in Airtable. This will be beginner-friendly content. If you are familiar with Airtable, I'm confident you will also pick up some tips and tricks, but we will kind of spell out what we're doing and what we're looking at with all those core Airtable concepts along the way. The key resource that I want to point you to is our AI Plays. I'm going to drop it in the chat here. So you'll see the link to Airtable AI Plays. If you don't see that chat on the platform that you're viewing, it is just at airtable.com/AI Plays, and you can find it up in the resources tab of our site as well. These are fully built out Airtable apps that show you what's possible with AI within the platform using constructed and curated templates. There are demo videos here, both kind of quick demos to give you the core concept of the app, as well as longer form walkthrough videos, about 10 to 15 minutes for every app, that show you exactly how this app is constructed. In the live stream today, we'll be giving you kind of a live and personal view into that walkthrough video as well. So we have AI Plays for everything from document analysis use cases to marketing and creative use cases, voice of customer for product teams, event management. There's a real variety in here. And so today's stream is going to be walking you through a good sampling of all the different types of AI apps that you can create with Airtable. And I'll point you to Plays to be able to go and get some of these templates yourself. What I also want to leave you with today is a sense of how you might start to translate the kind of starter apps that we're showing today into something really unique and specific for you. So we're going to be looking at, for example, in this first app, a document analysis workflow around contracts. Document analysis has become one of the most popular types of AI-powered apps that customers are building in Airtable. but it could be many different types of documents. It could be market research reports. It could be invoices, transcripts of interviews. There are all kinds of document-based workflows, and that, again, is just one example of the kinds of workflows and apps that you can build. So, Mikayla, what do you say? Should we get started? Jump right into this first one on doc analysis?
Let's jump into it. And again, it's just one example. I think what's just so exciting about this space, and I'm definitely going to learn something new today because it's just changing that fast. Doc analysis is one of my favorite use cases, but there is a lot that we can dig in on. So just if you don't have an exact document like this, that's okay. It means you might be able to apply the concepts that we're covering in your use case.
Awesome. Okay, so let's have a look at what's happening in this first app around document analysis. So again, if you're new to Airtable, let me just talk you through the basic concepts of what you're looking at. We're starting off here in what we call the data layer. This is where the actual structured information in your app lives. Every row here is what we refer to in Airtable as a record. There is structured data that we're capturing as part of every record. And in this case, record is a customer contract in this example. And so we've actually attached entire contracts directly to this record in the form of a PDF. But of course, documents like that are so kind of unstructured, they're basically just text, are very hard to work with in any sort of structured way as part of a workflow. We need to convert this to structured data so that we can actually run our operations around it. So what we have is a series of fields within this table. So we have the records as the rows, the fields are the columns that have some special properties. These fields are what we call field agents in Airtable. A field agent is essentially a field that will populate itself and generate its own content, given some specific inputs and some specific instructions on what to do with those inputs. So what we're looking at here is a set of field agents that are extracting text and sense of the document from, and I'll zoom in a little bit here so you can get a better look at these, making sense of the content in the document in 2 different ways. So in one example here, we have the actual text of one of the clauses from this document being extracted directly from the contract. And crucially, all my field agents here always cite their sources. So I can click in right here and say, hey, show me where exactly in this document you got that information. And I can click into that source right here. When I do that, the field agent will show me with this yellow box where exactly it got that clause. That's the most straightforward way to use field agents with documents, is just extract certain data points, certain clauses, whether they are text or numbers or any other type of information from that document directly. I can also do things like have this essentially be like a pick list. In Airtable, we call that a single select or multi-select field, where that field agent is going to choose from a set of options with the data that it returns. So again, same idea here. Don't just give me the text of the clause, but actually sort of categorize it into one or many of a few different options. And so here we have that same citation, but now that field agent is choosing from a set of options. Again, we're looking at termination clauses as one example of one type of document where you might want to do this. So that extraction is really straightforward and very useful. We can also do things like actually make analysis and judgments about the content of a document using these field agents as well. And so this third field agent here is not just looking at extracting, but it's actually making some judgments about, hey, which terms in this contract actually present risk to each party in the contract and why. So there's actually some skilled judgment taking place here. So let's actually unpack how these field agents are constructed to sort of make sense of the content of this document, bring it into a structured format, and actually make some judgment and analysis about it. I'll go back to this simplest one here that's just extracting the text.
And
so
Alex,
when I click in,
Alex, there's actually a quick question. Will the field agent read handwritten data on a PDF, just for folks that are thinking of all the types of possible documents?
Yes.
As we go through
Great
this.
question. Yeah, totally. So yes, field agents are capable of reading handwritten data on a PDF, depending how sort of neat the calligraphy of that author is. It may be perfect or imperfect results, but they are absolutely capable of recognizing characters in handwritten data. Great question. And then I see Maria asked, is each section a different agent? Yeah, so what we're doing here is creating a field agent for each sort of extraction or analysis point that we want to make about that document. So each of these are a field. So if I go back to the table view here, each of these first three field agents we just looked at are literally three columns, essentially, or we call them fields table that you can think of, that are occurring across every record. And in this case, each record represents a contract.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting when you design field agents, you could think about, taking a single document and expanding, right? Pulling key details out. You could also take a document and summarize that, simplify. So there's a lot of different directions you can go with these field agents. They're so flexible. You could also chain them together. And Alex, you might be jumping into that. I'm not, I'm curious how if these are changed together, where one field agent influences the output of the other, but you were just jumping into it. So
you got it. Yeah, we are definitely going to talk through chaining as well once we establish some of these simple concepts. So let me click into this first one here. I want to show you exactly how this is set up. And then I'll also show you how to create new ones. And what we're to do with field agents is we have complete control over the specific kind of dials and knobs of how we want this field agent to be configured. But we can create these with as little as a single sentence. And I'll show you how to do that in a moment. So each of these field agents is instructed to return a certain type of data. So for this text extraction one, we are returning long text. And give it some custom instructions. So in this case, we say, you're a legal contracts analyst. So there's a prompt. I won't go through the whole thing here that describes the specific instructions we are giving this agent to do its job in returning and generating the data that we need within this particular table within this app. We then provide the inputs. And here we are literally providing the attachment field, the document field that represents the contract in its entirety to this agent. And so we can pass in any other fields, any other parts of data from that record to each field agent. And as Mikayla alluded to, that can also mean other field agents, which we're going to show and how you kind of chain one output into the next input. This is the simplest example as you start to understand what you can do here. So that entire contract gets passed in, those instructions tell this field agent what it needs to look for, what it needs to return. And that's how we get to this output that also, again, cites its sources. So we can come back here and verify, okay, where exactly did you get that information, and kind of check that agent's work.
I think that's just the visibility inside where the AI actually got that information so critical from a design standpoint. The other feature I do want to call out, that's like, I use it almost every time I build a field agent, is edit with AI. Alex, when you open that drop down, maybe just if you haven't created a field agent before, this is like your sort of secret weapon where you can actually build these instructions, because prompting is a craft unto itself. You could actually draft and update a prompt really quickly just with a single sentence here. So maybe it's like readjusting the formatting. Maybe you want this in a bulleted list instead, or only a certain number of words. And it can actually just update the prompt for you using AI. So AI on top of AI a little bit there. But.
Exactly right. So let's look at this field agent here that's doing a little more sort of cognition, a little more thinking, if you will. This one is not just extracting text, it's actually performing some analysis. So we're saying, look at the high risk terms from the perspective of both the buyer and the customer on this contract. Now, let's say that we're looking at these results, and they're mostly what we're looking for. They're pretty good. But to Mikayla's point, maybe we want to iterate on those. We actually don't need to kind of go in there, surge adjust the prompt. We have that control, but we can also help. We can also use AI to help us with creating AI. So we could come in here and say, include. Let's just make a simple change. Include at least 5 points for each party. We'll go ahead and update that agent. And then to give you an appreciation for what's happening here, we've given one sentence of intent. The field agent is now going to effectively write its own instructions in a more detailed, actionable way that update that prompt. And then once that custom instruction update is complete, and there it goes, we now have our sort of iteration reflected here in the prompt. I can save that. And then when I run this again, I'm going to see those new instructions are reflected in the output.
Yep.
So
best
all of this
in a best-in-class format. Yeah, I mean that's what's just so exciting about that, is that you can just give it a few words of direction and it will give you a structure. And it's also a great learning tool of like getting familiar with prompting in these field agents to continue to refine them.
So with that click in there, we were just looking at one record. So already, even when you're doing this just for one document, one contract, that can be pretty valuable. The real power of Airtable is running these same agents, this set of agents, across many. So in this example here, in our contract operations example, we have all these different documents that are represented as records in our data set. And we can come in here in the table view, in the data layer, and run all these agents again for every document. And we can do this in bulk. We can do this automatically. We are in control of when and how often these agents run. But if you have a look here, the simplest agents are completing first as expected. So this first one here that is returning from a pick list, the nature of the termination clause has completed. And then the extracted text agents, as you can see, are over on the left, working a little harder. Those ones took a couple more seconds to complete, and those come in. And then that high risk terms commentary, that will be the last one to come in here. But again, to give you a sense of the output here, we're getting like this expert judgment on what exactly this contract contains and what risks it might present to both parties. And there it is. So that one's run there for another record.
Alex, do you mind speaking to, there's a few questions in the chat around credits and how you just generated a bunch of tags, some analysis. What kinds of costs are associated, or how can you get more granularity into credits?
Totally. So for every field agent action, we'll give this one a second to load here. I'll go to the simpler one actually. You will see a preview of the credits consumed. You can think of credits essentially as a sort of currency for using AI in Airtable. And those will scale down or up with the complexity of the task and the size and nature of the input and output that you're asking the agent to work with. So with these simple examples from a document, you're seeing things on the order of 1 to 5 credits typically. If we look at this one here that is performing a little bit more deep analysis, this also depends on the model that you choose. So the more frontier models that are capable of that deeper reasoning and those more powerful outputs will consume more credits, more compute power. If you have simpler tasks, you have that ability to switch to a generation or two previous from the model providers, and then those will give you often usually a faster result as well at the that deeper compute. So that's the core idea of credits. Awesome. So from here, let me also show you just how easy it is to add these. So I wanted to start by showing you what these agents can do and kind of like the real mechanics of how they work with those inputs and outputs and choosing the field type. I'm going to now ask Omni, who we haven't met yet. Omni is our AI expert collaborator within Airtable, helps us build our apps and analyze the data within those apps. We're going to do some building first with Omni. We're going to ask Omni, add field agents that extract text for the following sort of data points or types of clauses from our contract. We'll ask Omni to get to on that. So I can always do this sort of directly through point and click. So let me zoom out just a little bit here. I can come over here within my table and directly add a field agent. You'll see also we have this catalog of all the different types of field agents that you can add to your app, and these will be relevant to your app as well when you go to browse catalog based on the metadata in there. But as Omni is working on adding these field agents, why don't we do a few more questions? I'm seeing a ton of activity in the chat. Anything standing out there, Mikayla, we should touch on?
Let's see. Yeah, tons of great questions. And I also just want to emphasize that we're using AI to build sort of AI systems here. We've got field agents that are actually within the layer of our data. So AI happening at multiple levels. I see a question just around like, confidentiality, PII, like the documents, the data that we put inside Airtable. Is it possible to sort of speak to sort of like maybe we can point folks to our documents there, Alex? Any sort of on a high level?
I'll touch on the need to know there, and then we can definitely point to some resources for more. So as you've seen when I was clicking into those field agents, I'll do another one here. Airtable doesn't create our own AI models. We work with all the leading model providers. You see the models here from OpenAI, from Anthropic, Google, Meta, and so on. And so we pass that data to the model provider to provide that response. That model provider does not retain your data, does not train on your data. Airtable, of course, doesn't train on your data either. We don't have models to train. And so structurally and contractually, that data is never retained outside of the context of your Airtable app.
Yep, it's a great question. Something to definitely pay attention to, and really appreciate it.
This one here that caught my eye there from Jordan. Jordan asked, is this agent doing simple text extraction from PDFs, or is it able to also see the content such as graphs and handwritten notes? Depends on the specific nature of that document, but in general and in most cases, yes, it would be able to see handwritten notes we touched on for sure, but even visual content like graphs as well. You will see field agents be able to sort of reason about that content. And just as I finish addressing that question there, we'll see Omni has an update for us. So in the time it took us just to pop into chat and answer a couple questions, I'll just bring Jordan's question down here. Omni went ahead and created 3 more field agents for us. We asked Omni, extract confidentiality terms, extract liability caps, extract governing law. And look, we just got those 3 field agents, and even in the time it took me to describe them, they've already run. And so for every record here, for every contract, we now have even more structured, usable, extracted data. And again, these are just text examples, but this can take the form of any type of structured data you can work with in Airtable: long text, single select, multi-select, number, currency, images, and so on. Images we're going to talk about in a minute. Cool. And before we leave contract operations, let me show the concept of building a workflow, a very simple one. So one of the field agents we have here is extracting publicity rights from the contract. So does this customer allow us to, use their name in our marketing content? Well, it would be pretty nice if we could let our marketing team know anytime a customer contract and publicity rights are granted. As you can see here, we've set this condition. We're over on the automations tab now in Airtable, where we can build these logical workflows. So we're saying if this, then that. We're saying if publicity rights are granted, send an email to our marketing team and let them know that the publicity rights are granted, and actually just insert that value and insert that customer name, so the marketing team can take an action, maybe to add that logo to our customers page on our website or something like that. So we went from document to structured data. That in itself is very powerful. Where it gets really exciting though is building workflows and giving your team this structured source of truth to actually run their work through. So that is agent number 1.
You can really start to. This is incredible. Thanks, Alex, for digging in here. And I think what's just so exciting is you can take and sort of build on this structure and jump in where it makes sense, where your team is sort of operating already, or in ways that you weren't able to operate. Another use case just in the document ecosystem that I've seen that I really like is a research uploader. So really long research reports, being able to pull these in and then extract key insights that your team cares about. So if you have themes, maybe in a campaign or top of mind KPIs that you want to drive towards, you could extract those from research reports and then action those, surface those to your team in sort of a summary. So just another example of a document use case, but really love to see it.
Totally. And another one here actually just came in from Dion, sorry for mispronouncing, but the question was, could that document, quote unquote, be a link, like an act or a regulation maybe that's available online? Yes, absolutely it can. So I would structure that a little bit differently. So instead of having that document field here, which is an attachment, I would simply have a URL field. And in your case, let's say this is the ACT URL. And then I would just put those URLs right here, and I would give that URL to my agent instead of the PDF, which we've been showing. And that's actually a good segue into the web research agents that we're going to show next. For every single one of these agents, I can control what other external sources of information they have access to. And one of the most common and popular and powerful is internet search. So all you would have to do is put those URLs in per record, enable search, and then that agent is going to be able to access the content of that web page. And it could be a PDF, like literally a .pdf on the web, or it could be maybe just a long web page that contains that content of interest. So let's move over to agent number 2. This is web research. And so in this simple example, we have a data set of companies and people that we are interested in searching the web and learning some information about. I'm just going to show a couple simple examples today, and I hope that it sets off those light bulbs for you of, okay, well, if the agents could go search the web and learn that, then maybe for my specific purpose, they could also go and learn something really, really particular about those companies or people. So we have a list of companies, same way we had a list of contracts before. Every record now in this case is a company. And the first one, which is really simple, but adds immediately some nice visual presentation factor, is just go find the logo. So we have an agent here. We've talked enough, I think, about the core concept of a field agent. Instead of returning text, instead of returning multi-select, this field agent is returning an image. And it's specifically returning that image from the web. So we've said, hey, go find the official logo for every company. And those agents have gone out and found all of these logos for each company. So the only input here was this first column or this first field, which is the name of the company. And then we went and grabbed all the logos. Same thing over on the people table. We have a headshot field. So we've asked this agent to go find images from the web, simple prompt right here, give that name, and then those agents come back with the headshot for all of these different individuals. We can go further. We can say, let's actually go and return an overview of the company and recent news about that company. So go and give me a crisp paragraph on what this company does, the industry that they're in as well. So we now have things like different tags and multi-select. If we're sort of trying to maybe categorize or get a sense of the composition of different segments of companies or types of people within our data set, this is a great way to do that using field agents. And again, I want to touch on citations using the news example here. So we've instructed this field agent now with internet search on to go search the web and find crisp headlines from the last 60 days related to this company and their news. There's a detailed prompt that does that. Again, whether you're creating that field agent with Omni or using Mikayla's favorite feature, Edit with AI, you don't have to go and become a prompt engineer and write these really detailed, expertly crafted prompts. Just give that 1 to 2 sentences of your intent and let AI write instructions for itself. Once you've done that, you'll get an output that looks like this. And if the output isn't quite right, you use Edit with AI again, and you can refine that, that set of instructions to get you a better result. But look what's happening here. We actually have AI that's citing its sources, and these are real links on the web that you can go and kind of confirm AI's work here to see that it is indeed returning useful results for us. And yep, I agreed. With Airtable here, this is definitely some of our own kind of accurate recent news, and we see that for other companies in the data set as well. Mikayla, what have you seen from customers around information that comes in from the web that helps kind of enrich the quality of their workflows and accelerate and cut down on manual research and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, what's just really compelling about this, and I get so excited, is that you can now essentially, I mean, instead of having to manually go and browse to find this data, to log it, you're enriching it in a structured way from the very beginning. So it becomes very interesting, and we could actually prompt an Omni to ask compelling questions of that data set because it's so structured. There are so many cool use cases. I mean, you have access to the whole internet, essentially. So a lot of variety and possibilities here. A few personal favorites. There was someone who was selling something on eBay, and they were researching prices and getting a range on like how should they price what they're selling on eBay based on web research. The other one was actually from that earlier example. They were an agency that analyzes and does sort of UX design. And so they took the URL of a website and sort of did a UX audit on that website. So page architecture, user intent, UX problems, and spotted those. That doesn't mean that's the final answer. It's just a first pass at that website in that exact use case. So considering where it makes sense for your team to now go in and review what the AI pulled out and outputted here, but it's just now you have a rich starting point whereas previously this would have had to be sort of patched together and very, very tedious. So just want to re-emphasize that, like making this curated data set.
Great point. A question from Lo just came in. In this scenario, is the only manual input the company column? That is correct. Yes. In this simple illustrative example, the only part that would have been inputted is just this column of company names, logo, overview, recent news, industry. All of those are field agents. So all of those are field agents that are either searching the web or looking at the sort of output of other field agents in order to make that judgment. So for example, really simple one, we first deliver the company overview here as a paragraph of text. We then pass that along with the company name over to the industry kind of tagger that is instructed to choose from a list of options as a multiple select, and it benefits from the detail provided by that overview agent. So these, of course, are well-known companies, but if you're working with a list of smaller companies, having that is going to help you get a more accurate result in industry. So let's now show, again, just like we had that kind of workflow example, let's show what can we, it's cool to, great, we've now got the structured data set, but what do we actually do with it? So let's say we want to invite some subset of these people in the data set to an event. So we're going to have a prompt here that writes up an invitation for an event. Right in the prompt here, we can provide some details about that event. And let's actually grab the recent news about each company in order to make that outreach even more relevant. So I'm going to add what's called a lookup field in Airtable. So on the company table, you've seen me tabbing between the two tables here. That's where that recent news field agent lived. I'm going to look that up, and then I'm going to provide that as input here to my event invitation field agent. So this is that idea of chaining that Mikayla introduced us to. So this is going to be recent news to reference, and I'll just make a reference to that field that just came in. And then we'll see when we run these event invitation generations, we now have this record of person. We have information about their company. We have their recent news, their headshot, their bio, all these field agents. We've come to understand this concept. And then here is our event invitation. And we can instruct this field agent to ensure, let's do one of those edit with AI, make sure to reference recent news to make the invite more relevant. And AI is going to write instructions for itself and come up with that refined prompt. We'll go ahead and save that, confirm, and then let's run this again and see how that agent does, and we'll see the difference in the output.
Alex,
while it does that, yeah, go ahead.
There's actually a great question in the chat around, what if the AI output in the field agent isn't what you're looking for? And what you just showed and demonstrated here is that iteration in progress. Like what it takes is looking at that output and then actually refining the prompt until you're starting to get to a place where you're getting what you're looking for. So you're in that driver's seat, right? You have that vision. Maybe this is right for your event invite. For me, maybe I'd want this to be like half as long. It seems maybe pretty rich in text, very bold paragraphs there. So what if we want that to be more concise? So that's expect to iterate, I guess, is like my tip on that, because it's not going to give you what you want exactly the first time, but maybe it's that 6th or 7th time, and you continue until you build a system where you can give it a single company name, and you have that sort of repeatable motion you just come back to. And yep,
Awesome.
I see the update agent.
There you go, right? So yeah, you can come in and just keep iterating here until that output starts to approach something that resembles what you're looking for. I'll also say, this is just a general tip. This isn't really Airtable specific. Agents of any kind are excellent at providing better outputs when they're given an example. So I actually don't have that here, so I'm not to what I'm preaching, but including an example of what one great output looks like within your prompt is a great way to make sure that agents know exactly what you are looking for. So if you can nail that kind of canonical example of the event invitation, use briefing, or whatever it may be, put that directly in the prompt, those results are going to be much more kind of sort of compliant with that score. Awesome. Let's now move over to agents 3 and 4, which are image analysis and image generation. So we'll switch contexts a little bit here. Let's imagine we are working for a consumer e-commerce company. Maybe we sell some apparel and some home goods. And now the looking at is a collection of our products. So just like we had that question about what exactly were the inputs, let's imagine the inputs here are just these product names in the leftmost column and the product images called on white images. So not the product in like a lifestyle setting or on a model or anything, but literally just the product background. Those are our only inputs. What can we do? So we can now analyze, describe, tag those images as inputs, same way we used documents as inputs, right? Exact same concept. We have an image description agent here that is instructed to return long text. And its job is to give us a crisp paragraph description of this image. So if you recall from the document analysis example, this is where we had that attachment of the PDF of the contract. There was the question about, giving a URL for a regulation or a law. Hopefully you're starting to see the pattern from a very simple input. What can we ask field agents to do and generate? So images can be of input. And so just from the picture, we have this field that went and said, hey, this image displays in whatever detail, using whatever specific language might be relevant for our domain. This is exactly what I'm looking at. And you could imagine asking Omni to add many of these field agents that provide all the different tags that you're looking for. So staying in the product catalog example, that could be things like category, product, size, colors available, whatever is depicted in that image. Could be tagged. It could even be more judgmental things like what sort of type of lifestyle setting might be suitable for this product. So we can then also generate images. So we can analyze and describe images. We can add other types of field agents like writing copy based on what was in that image description as well. And then we can put that product into a lifestyle setting. We can put that product shot into maybe an ad for a specific channel. And so look here, we have a few of these products. So again, we just went from the name of the product and the on-white image to this AI-generated description. And then we have our image generation agent right here, lifestyle shots portrait, this one is called, that is instructed to generate an image. So we saw searching the web for images before with the simple logo and headshot example. This is actually generating an image entirely here within our Airtable app using the on-white image and then placing on the copy that is generated from this image before. So now we're really starting to see what's possible with that chaining that Mikayla talked about. We go from the name and plain image to the description to the copy to now this whole lifestyle shot that is generated with that copy in a certain design style and staying really true in most of these examples. I was glad to see to that source image of the product and how it looks. And again, we have complete control and granularity over how exactly we want that product to be presented. We can do things like providing reference images here as well as part of that input. This is just that simple example to get you started. and give you a sense of what that looks like structurally to go from an image to other content about that image to other images. Yeah, Mikayla.
There are a few questions in the chat around forms and how you could bring forms into maybe a workflow like this, or even from the last example, you wanted to add a new product image and sort of chain from there. Just curious if you're able to show that off a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. I didn't catch that one, Mikayla. Was it generally about adding data to the base or forms specifically?
Yes. Let's see. I think it was just, I've got to find the question here. Just the ability to have, oh, here, I'll show it. Can we use forms for external parties to maybe run information from the data table?
Yes.
So,
gotcha. Yeah. So that forms would definitely what you need for external parties. So yeah, that's absolutely right. So you can have a form, staying in this example here, that allows someone external to submit whichever fields that you need as input, and those would get dropped in. So let's imagine we had that form and someone said, hey, new product, glossy navy ceramic table lamp, and I just had these two fields as my input. I can then have those agents go and run against that content. These ones do take a little bit longer when they're looking at images, but hopefully that conveys the idea for you that you can come in here with whatever input is relevant to capture from that external party or that stakeholder. And then once it's in the app, they can see this if you want them to. If you don't want them to see this, this can be totally obscured from them. But then those field agents can run and continue to iterate. Another good question here, can you only edit the prompts and not the outputs? You can always edit the outputs when you're here directly in the data layer. You can lock it down if you have other people using this app and you don't want those edits to be outputs to be editable. But you can always come in here and override what the agent has generated.
Yep.
And let me see if I can punch in a little bit here. I'll just zoom in through my browser.
And editing the prompt is really more. Yeah. Editing the prompts is more about that scale component. Maybe you want to generate an output 100 times. You want to make sure that you trust that output. One, just, you don't have to go back and regenerate those. You want to keep your credits in mind. But also, this is where you can get in and get manual, and you can always adjust those as well. But
that's right. Yeah. So if something's if it's slightly off, just for that record, it's not something that warrants sort of changing the underlying prompt for all records. That manual override is the way to do it. And then you'll always see that that's demarcated by that edited by the user, you, or whoever made that edit. Cool. So just rounding out the image piece here, we've gone from those on white to the lifestyle shots, and then we can also do things like recomposing images. So let's say first we needed to get these in a vertical composition, maybe for ads for social media. I'll bring that question down there. Then the ask comes through to say, hey, can we actually get this horizontal so that we can use it in a banner ad style? Okay, well, we don't want to set up that whole photo shoot again. So let's say this was like created by a photography team. We can have agents that recompose existing images into a new format. So that could be as simple as going to like that landscape view. It could be changing elements of that photo. But when sort of just like manually cropping isn't going to cut it, or it's not worth going through and making precise edits to different elements of that image, you can also use these image to image agents, if you will, to recompose elements of those existing images.
Yeah, this is just such an exceptional example of chaining and the power of chaining. And also, I mean, I played around with tools like Midjourney or other AI generation tools. You're able to generate dozens, maybe hundreds of images just so quickly once you stand up and get that lifestyle portrait, that landscape portrait, whatever version of that is for you. It doesn't have to be this exact example. If imagery is a part in your workflow, this could be really compelling.
Yeah, absolutely. A question from M. Brannon, just to really drive that point home. If the agent pulled the wrong photo, for example, can I upload one of my choosing? Yeah, I think if I go back to the company and people research example, for whatever reason, I can come in here and override that anytime.
Cool. Alex, I think your audio may have dropped for a moment there.
Yeah, I just saw that warning come up. Were you able to hear my response to that question?
Do you mind repeating it just for the group?
I'll repeat that. So we had this image retrieval from web agent right here. The question was around, if it's the wrong image, can I replace it? And yes, you can always override that finding from that agent right here.
Awesome.
Cool. Okay, let's bring it home with our fifth kind of agent, which is generating web page prototypes. So we'll stay with the example of a product catalog for an e-commerce company, and we'll actually now take a collection of these products. So every record here represents a collection of products, and let's say, wouldn't it be nice to actually see those the way a customer would experience them in a mock-up of a landing page, rather than just as sort of records in a database. So same, we have a field agent. We've been asking our field agents to generate long text, to generate single select, to generate numbers, images. We can now add them to generate web prototypes as well. So a full web prototype here for this product collection has now been generated by this agent. And we can see that this is kind of representative and dynamic of what a web experience would actually look like. And we have these products here with some subtle animations and some effects on the page. And so we were actually able to take our structured data from Airtable and turn it into something that represents an interactive web experience. So we're seeing teams use this in the e-commerce space like we're showing here. We're seeing teams use this for mocking up new product ideas at software companies. So upload an existing screenshot of an interface and then put in some instructions for a different way to use that, or a new concept of how to interact with the product. And then this web prototype agent will go and create those ideas. So it's just such a powerful way to go beyond something that is sort of maybe just static into something that actually is what would be presentable to a consumer.
And you can start to build these mockups, into your system, into your review system. So the fidelity at which you can review this is just, you can get to this type of version so much faster than maybe having to, wireframe. You're standing this up, responding to this, and able to potentially ship a page like this that much more quickly because you can see sort of that end state. Really, really exciting.
And a good clarification here from Kalpana. Once we have a prototype, how do we get to a full-fledged website? So what you're seeing here is truly just as a prototype of what an interactive experience could look like. At the moment, this feature has been pretty early in development, so we don't have a way to, for example, like export the code of what's being generated here. But we would love to hear more about the use cases you have in mind now that you've seen the potential applications of this type of field. This field agent. Awesome. And then sticking with that web prototype example, in one more setting here, we've seen what field agents can do when given access to tools, to context. One of those types of context you can give is to your internal Google Drive. So the same way we are giving access to the internet, we can say you have access to my Google Drive or specific folders and files within that Google Drive. And let's say maybe we're kicking off marketing campaigns. So switching context a little bit here. And we have a field agent that is tasked with producing a deep dive into all of our market research reports and coming back with strategic recommendations about how we should structure this marketing campaign based on all the documents in that Google Drive. So it's actually going and looking at different documents in Google Drive to do this. This type of output is really powerful, but it's kind of text heavy. It's not the clearest to actually read if it's just plain text like that. So this is another powerful application of the web prototyping agent, is get all that rich content and actually drop it into a page. So we have some of the facts and figures, we have some diagrams and iconography and some nice visual design elements that help make that information a lot more presentable, engaging, consumable than it would be as plain text. So that is using that same type of field agent creating web prototypes for a different purpose.
Alex, there's a question. What formats are we able to export the mockup in? Are we curious what is available today?
So at the moment, it just lives in Airtable in the sort of preview or experience that you're seeing. We're looking into things depending on what customers really end up finding the most value in. It's potentially exporting this either to PDF or as code. But today, that mockup just lives directly on the record. Awesome. Okay, well, those are the 5 types of agents that we wanted to take you through today. So to wrap, and then we'll use the rest of the time for some Q&A, we had document analysis with the example of contract operations, where every record is a contract, and we have all these field agents interacting and analyzing the information contained within those contracts. So we have these field agents that cite their sources, make judgments about that content. We also looked at web research. So we're researching people or companies, building bios, bringing in recent news, and then using that to generate other content or perform other work using the information we found about all those different people and companies. We looked at image analysis and image generation. This is where we really started to push on that idea of chaining. So with minimal input, just a name and a kind of on-white plain background image, we're able to set off a series of field agents that generate different image outputs and describe the content of those images. And then finally, we really brought it home with the idea of generating entire web page prototypes for different product shots or different product ideas, campaigns, to really bring our ideas and our data to life. So Mikayla, let's plug again for folks where they can go if they're interested in what they saw in today's live stream for some deeper learning, the AI-powered app building course being one great place to start.
Yes, so if you are brand new to sort of the AI space and or trying to level up your AI knowledge, check out this course, our AI building learning path. You can see my face there on a few of these, but we cover a wide range of topics. There's a crash course if you just have about 22 minutes to cover core concepts. There's prompting, but really it gives you a wide net of the toolkit. Everyone's use case is going to be different. That's what's so powerful about Airtable is that flexibility. And so AI is also extremely flexible. And for that reason, it's about making that specificity within your work, making that extremely relevant to you. That's where things start to get really interesting. So do check that out. We have a ton of other incredible certifications, courses here just on Airtable, Builder Essentials. So you can definitely level up at your own pace.
Yeah, awesome. Let's bring down the screen share and spend the rest of our time on a few more questions. We'll stick around till the top of the hour. Anything else that caught your eye as we were going there, Mikayla, that we want to come back to and touch on? And folks, if you did have questions, we've still got some time to touch on a few more.
There's a question on the underlying model. Are the images generated using Midjourney, Chat, other third-party tool? Actually,
yeah, these ones. The current image generation that you're seeing there is using OpenAI's image model. As I mentioned, Airtable works with all the different model providers, and so one structural advantage of using AI through Airtable is that you're always going to be benefiting from the latest breakthroughs from any of those different model providers. And so as they're always kind of one-upping each other, those new models will become available in Airtable. At the moment, it's OpenAI. We've seen Google make some incredible progress with their image models, so that'll likely be one of the next that we support.
Another great question. Just want to re-emphasize what we showed today. How can you see those examples?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Airtable AI Plays that I'll pull back up here is your go-to resource for pre-built apps, templates to get you started with AI in Airtable. So it's not exactly one-to-one of what I showed today, but these apps in here all have templates associated with them. They have detailed walkthrough videos. There's other, if you liked what you saw with web research, for example, competitor product research has become one of our more popular AI plays. On that retail and e-commerce side, we have this one for merchandising your product line, which uses a lot of the same concepts. And so we're always getting inspired by what customers are building with the product and then converting those into these AI plays and templates that others can continue to use and learn from. So that's the best destination.
Awesome. So many great questions coming in. Taking it in here. Thank you all also for hanging out with us. This is a ton of fun.
Absolutely. Here's one from Sergio. What's the base way to create an Airtable base with only having the information of what I want to track and what I want to do, but not knowing the best layout to use? So one thing we did not show today was creating entire apps from scratch using Omni. So when you first sign up for Airtable, or if you're in here already and you go to create a new app and you use Omni, Omni is your expert collaborator for creating the app that you need for your specific purpose, Sergio. So if you would drop in here, even just a couple sentences or maybe some existing data, if you do have it, let Omni make some expert judgments for you about the best way to structure that, the best visualizations to include in that app to present the information, what parts should be manual input versus what parts should be generated by field agents. Omni is your partner in creating that app specific for your purpose.
And again, this is not that dissimilar from the edit with AI feature. You could just use a single sentence here. It builds out a V1. It mocks it up with example data. You can also, and this is also one of my favorite features, import with a spreadsheet. So if you're in an existing spreadsheet, you can bring that data, enrich that data so that what Omni uses, it's actually built around your data set. So really compelling. Moving and migrating from any tool is very tedious. So this is an accelerant. It speeds up that process.
Awesome. Let's do a couple more. That's a really good one there from Sergio. For everybody asking if the recording will be available, yes, it will. Immediately after we end the live stream here, you'll see it on YouTube and LinkedIn. And you can share that with anyone who missed it, or if you missed portion of it as well. We touched on parts of this one, but a good question from Jesse. Can a form be built with an export button that saves handwritten details of a PDF as a CSV file to a SharePoint folder for users on our network? So the first piece there of handwritten PDF to structured data would be really well handled by a form dropping into a document analysis set of agents, like the first example we showed, Jesse. So you wouldn't necessarily need to have that separate CSV file first. To then point that back to a SharePoint folder, I would push maybe a little bit on the reason for the SharePoint folder. Once that information is in Airtable as a collaborative shareable app, where we can actually build workflows around it, do we need the SharePoint folder? So going from PDF with handwritten or typed kind of digital information to structured data directly in Airtable, and then that becomes a collaborative app for you.
There is one more question. Oh, you go for it.
Or do you have another one?
I was just going to highlight the Academy, but let's do this one, and then I'll share the link on screen for how to get to the Academy.
We'll finish on the Academy. So Jennifer asked, can you edit existing data table to start using AI field agents without messing up the existing entries? Absolutely. So you do not need to start from scratch if you've already been using Airtable to start taking advantage of field agents. So let's say this was already my existing app. I can come right in here either via Omni, like we were showing, hey, add some field agents that do the following things, or through kind of direct point and click, come in here just the same way I would add any other type of field and start adding some field agents to augment my existing app. Absolutely. All right, Mikayla, do you want to finish with one more plug on Academy?
Yes. So on the screen now, you should see the academy.airtable.com. So that is the URL you can navigate to get to the Academy and check out the course catalog there. At the top, you can see the different paths different certifications available, and you can learn at your own pace. But this was so much fun, Alex. Really, really enjoy digging in, talking about AI and Airtable, and seeing all the comments from the community.
Super fun. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Feel free to join us, join the conversation on community. We can't wait to see what you build with Airtable and AI. See you next time.